All right, I went back and proofed the video just to make sure I had the right shots marked off, and this is kind of the order of operations here. You see that the red blob represents all the shots within the mid-stride, right? So they're more or less within the body, not too bad horizontally, and definitely no real vertical stringing. However, you see with the, we'll call the athletic stance, right, you have this massive vertical stringing. Today we're going to talk about fighting stance, right? What is a fighting stance or athletic stance, right? So the internet athletic stance assumes that somebody even knows what that is or what to do. Giving that kind of like generic advice isn't really helpful. Again, we'll have our demonstration where we see the back of the target, and I'm going to shoot through. I'm going to do 5 shots in the fighting stance that I see being kind of promoted on the interwebs, and then I'm going to do the mid-stride of the walk on the top. So this is going to be more about my feet placement. They're more centered up, more like this horse stance, right? And they're kind of standing tall, and they've got the rifle up, right? Our arm isn't too far out. We're not going to worry about that too much. This is going to be purely about my weight being centered versus my feet being more at a walking gait and leaning forward into the target. All right, so we're going to do 5 yards. We'll do the top one mid-stride of the walk technique. Okay, pretty good. A little tight. They did go a little bit to the right. It's not me driving my shoulders, so do one more. All right, a little bit more centered, drive the shoulder, more or less in the center. I got one on the line. Felt pretty good about it. The group is more or less pretty circular, just this normal kind of movement, and then now we'll change the stances and try that with the fighting stance. You saw it was significantly slower. The gun was moving a lot. I felt really off balance. The group is pretty tight, but then that's because I kept it in there. So I'm going to go at full speed, try to grab the shoulder at that same stance. Stand by. I had to really try hard to keep it in. That was the bump in the cadence. Had I not had that gap, I would have gone off the target, off to the upper right. The upper body more or less the same. I felt really off balance being centered like that. So we'll change the angles and then we'll check it out from the side view. All right, so we're gonna mark these off. We're gonna use the red marker here. So, able to shoot a lot faster. My first group on the mid-stride of a walk was more of in my grip and shoulders, but I felt like I could stay hammered on pretty well. As far as this other one, actually let's mark these again as 1. Okay, and then these 2. Notice the accuracy is good, but that's because I paused to get back instead of letting it walk off. On the next one, if it walks off, it's going to walk off. I'm going to show you. All right. Good. All in. We'll do another one. Grip was a little bit looser on that one. However, I'll look at the video and see how my stance felt pretty good. I just felt like more of my arms were moving around versus my body. So I'll open up the mag and then do it on the bottom block. Let's check it out. This is the athletic stance. Fucking terrible. That felt like absolute dog shit. So let's check it out. And this is why the athletic stance advice is no good. When you're centered up like that, then you're basically, yeah, you're thinking about movement, or, you know, I kind of get that, but what you're not doing is you're setting yourself up to be proactive or preventing the recoil from affecting you. I had a bunch walk in here, so that's why I went ahead and marked it. So let's actually begin, and I'll show you how bad it was. All right, so you have all these 3s, right? And so I'm gonna start marking the 4s. And these are all the ones from the fighting stance. I think that's it. So we got ones that went off to the right, and then they strung up into these other group. With the mid stride, even if my grip was kind of loose, I was staying very tight. Your hips are too far back, it's going to push you back. When you're centered like this, same thing, right? Your weight is still too centered between your legs, right? So while it won't be as bad as an air chair, it is still bad. It's still going to have an effect. You put your hips forwards, lean them forwards, right? My power centers are my hips and my shoulders. Why would I not want them as far forward as possible? Fighting stance is too ambiguous. If you're going to define fighting stance, please give details on the body structure and then how that translates to shooting. The positioning you do for martial arts and striking doesn't translate to shooting, one for one. All right, so I'm going to apply the same principles at some distance, right? So while you have smaller groups in comparison, they're all within like a kill zone, right? So you say like, what's it really matter? Well, I'm gonna use this whole silhouette, and I'm gonna back up at about 15-20 yards. I'll do 5 rapid fire, then I'll do another 5 rapid fire with the mid stride of a walk, and then I will do the fighting stance, and then we'll compare. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that was 10 hits. There's these ones on the outside. I'll go ahead and mark them off, switch mags, and do the other technique. I slowed it down on the first one. The second one I went faster. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Right. So we're looking at a spread of for mid-stride of a walk, and then for the athletic stance. So you see the difference at distance, what that makes, right? This is barely on target, right? And the first group would have been more off target had I not slowed it down. All right, I went back and proofed the video just to make sure I had the right shots marked off, and this is kind of the order of operations here. You see that the red blob represents all the shots within the mid-stride, right? So they're more or less within the body, not too bad horizontally, and definitely no real vertical stringing. However, you see with the, we'll call the athletic stance, right? You have this massive vertical stringing. And the reason my first 5 were so close together is because I really kind of slowed the pace down to get those shots, and you still had that one high up here. Luckily I get all 10, but anything further than that, they would have been off the body. So kind of a comparison of the gun is moving you versus you not letting the gun move you.